Hi guys. Sorry, I lost my pen. Okay. Marietta here with Little Dreamers, ready to answer your questions. Sorry I'm late. Life is crazy, right? Life is crazy. Oh no. I can hear myself talking on Facebook. Let me really quickly come in here and get out of this so that you can't hear my echo. Sorry about that, guys. I edited the video, and if you don't close it down, then you're gone. Okay, Kayla, you're here. Awesome. Okay, so in case you don't know what's going on, I tried 1 week just answering questions for people that were here, and it was really stressful for me, which I know just sounds dumb, but I really do have anxiety. Like, it's just part of who I am. And so it like stressed me out to like find your name and like figure it out. So what I'm going to do is start from the beginning, start reading my questions. If you're here, when I get closer to my time up, then I will make sure that your questions get answered, okay? So thanks for checking in. We've got Kayla and Chelsea and Cabri, and I have your questions, your names. I remember seeing them come through. So, let's see. First off, announcements, right? What's exciting going on with Little Dreamers? I have just been super busy, and things have been booked out, and it's been awesome. It's been so fun to work with a lot of clients and get things going. But because of that, I haven't had a lot of time to publish a lot of new blog posts or get things going that way. So I'm itching to write. So if you, there were so many good questions that I'm like, I just want to be able to take the time to write that and get that out. But hopefully I can get that out soon. But for those of you who saw on Facebook, I posted today, if you haven't heard of Wink Naturals, you should check them out. They're really awesome. And they reached out to me and had me write a blog post for them that I was able to finish and that they featured today on their Facebook. They make all natural stuff for babies, not just sleep. They have like a teething gel. They do melatonin for kids. They do it for adults. They have a cool lotion that people love for sensitive and dry eczema type skin. They have some really great products. So when I use melatonin pills for little kids, and I don't use them a lot, but every once in a while, I really recommend their products. I feel comfortable giving it to my own children, and that's kind of I'm pretty picky, and so that's kind of if I feel comfortable doing this, then that's what I'd recommend to clients. So go check that out. I talk about when babies will sleep through the night and how you know if the disruption in their sleep is normal or if something needs to be done, if you need to do something for it. So go check that out. And I posted that on my page too. So lots of people showing up. Great. Jessica's here and Tracy's here. Megan's here. Allison, Janelle, Megan. Woohoo. Okay, guys. Hillary's here. Perfect, Hillary, you're my first question. So just for those of you who just jumped in, what I'm going to do is start questions at the top and then go down. If you're here, I guarantee I'll answer your question for you, but I'm going to start at the top and kind of get down a little bit. And then as my time is filling up, we will make sure that if yours hasn't been answered, that I will answer it, okay? So we're going to start with Hillary. Hillary says, well, what is the easiest way to break a sleep nursing association? Oh, that's a strong one, right? I've had it, or my kids have had it, so I know how that goes. We are trying to use the pick up, put down method for our barely 7-month-old. She wakes up about 7:38 and is on a 2-3-4 nap schedule. Okay, let me underline that. That's important. And we get her bedtime routine going around 7:30. Okay, she usually nurses and rocks to sleep, but we've been trying to have Dad rock her to sleep. It worked for a day or two, but now she is so stressed out and crying harder than what we are comfortable with. Okay, yeah. What's probably happening there is what people don't talk about a lot is when you are sleep training or when you're taking away a sleep aid, often kids will do okay for a couple days and then they'll really fight it. And that's normal. It's a normal regression that kids have to kind of fight it and say, no, I don't want this to be the routine and the normal. Like, I was okay for a day or two, but I don't want this to be okay. So she's really fighting it. You end up folding and nursing her. She's getting up around 6 times per night and needs to be nursed and rocked back to sleep, of course, because she has to fall asleep not being rocked and not being nursed. So a couple things. One thing is that schedule, a 2-3-4 schedule, is not my favorite for a 7-month-old. A 4-hour wake time between her last nap and bedtime is really long for a 7-month-old. The most that I would ever see is 3 hours at that point, and even that can be a little long for a 7-month-old. So what I'd actually recommend doing is switching that up a little bit. The longest, you can have a fairly long wake cycle sometimes between the morning nap and the afternoon nap without disrupting your nighttime sleep. So maybe having a schedule more like like 2.5 hours in the morning, and I'm just throwing out some numbers, maybe like 2.5 hours in the morning, with maybe a 3 hour in the afternoon, and then maybe another 2.5 hour, 2 hours and 45 minutes before bed might work. But part of the reason she could be resisting it is because she's just overtired already going to sleep. And so if she has enough aids, she'll be able to fall asleep. But when you start taking those away, it gets really hard. The other thing that I would consider with her is something more aggressive than the pick up, put down method. That works really well for young babies or easygoing babies. But sometimes if that's really hard for her, then you may consider doing something that's a little bit more straightforward and easier for her to understand. Because think about it. She's crying, you're coming in, you're picking her up, and she's thinking, okay, yeah, great, I'm going to get what I want. But she doesn't get what she wants, and she goes back down to bed awake. And so it can be confusing and hard for them to understand. So that's something that I would think about, Hillary. And you'd be great if you're interested. Any of my sleep training packages would be great for you. There's a silver one that's $189 and a gold one that's $399. Most people choose my gold one because of what you get with it, which is really working one-on-one with me. Sorry, I'm just making sure that getting all sorts of things in my phone going off right now. Anyways, yeah, really working one-on-one with me so that you're not only getting like this perfect sleep plan specifically designed for you, but 2 weeks of support where, you know, I'm working hand in hand with you, helping you figure out what to do, helping prior to this, helping you decide what sleep training method is right, helping you be consistent, because every time that you fold and give in and nurse her, you're teaching her to cry for 2 hours, and then eventually I will give in and nurse her. So we don't want to give her that message. You ought to be super consistent with whatever you choose. Be super consistent. Maybe that means taking a break right now, coming up with a good plan that you can be consistent with, even if she cries for extended periods of time, and then move forward. Okay, Kajel Crow, and maybe I'm saying that wrong. Did I see? I don't know if you're here or not. I don't think I saw your name. She says, approximately when will my almost 2-month-old start to consolidate his naps? They are literally 30 minutes long. Also, when will he start to go to sleep sooner? Right now it's close to 11. Very normal, I know. So sometimes it is normal for 11. I had a 2-month-old who actually went to sleep at 5 o'clock. So, and slept until midnight, would eat and woke up at 4, and then would wake up at like 7. So he was getting 14 hours of consolidated sleep at night. I don't know how that happened. That was a miracle child. Does not always happen that way. The reason I bring that story up is sometimes we kind of wait too long to put our newborns to bed, and they really struggle to sleep. So at 2 months, I would say, you know, try putting your little one to bed earlier and see how they do. You know, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, just slowly, gradually get that bedtime earlier, and they tend to do okay. Okay, so naps. Right now, obviously, it sounds like 30-minute naps are completely normal. Naps can lengthen out at any time. They can lengthen out right now, or they can lengthen out closer to 6 or 7 months. Those cat naps are awful. They're awful, and there's a lot of things when I work with clients. I've had a ton of clients struggling with the short naps right now. And we've had people on here, if you guys followed the Q&As, I know their names. Anyways, that are struggling with that. And they're awful. And there's certain things that I'll try to do when we sleep train or after we sleep train, or even at 2 months to help lengthen out naps, but sometimes they just really won't, and sometimes it just takes time. So anywhere between now and 6 months, it should lengthen out. And then yes, there are things that you can do. So at 2 months, what I would suggest doing is getting your baby down slightly earlier, right? So if your baby's staying awake for 2 hours, which is long for a 2-month-old, don't follow that guideline. I just threw a number out there. Try putting him down 15 minutes earlier and see if that can help lengthen out his nap. The biggest culprit for short naps is an overtired baby. So, okay, Megan, I think I saw you here, Bigler. Oh no, Megan Taylor's here. Okay, let's answer Megan's. How do you know when to go from 3 to 2 naps, and how do you do it? Well, this is one of the questions that I thought would be a really good post that I should write. So 3 to 2 naps happen sometimes between the ages of 6 to 9 months. Usually 7 to 8 months is when it happens. So if your child is over 9 months, it's probably time to switch to 2 naps. And if your child is at 6 months, it's probably not time. But every now and again, there's a baby who needs 2 naps at 6 months. So A lot of different ways that you could know. Your baby could start resisting their third nap of the day. They can start resisting bedtime. They can start waking up more frequently at night. They could start waking up earlier in the morning. They could start resisting their morning nap. I mean, pretty much any of those around the 6 to 9 month mark means that it's time to switch from 3 to 2 naps. Now, you do want to be careful that you're not running into a developmental milestone, which is crawling, sitting up. If you're having that stuff going on, it's probably just a regression. But if you're seeing those disturbances, then it's probably a time to switch. And I want to see those disturbances for about a week and a half before we switch, okay? Okay, let's go to a who's here question. Jessica, I saw your name. You're the next one that I have on my list that submitted a question, so I'm going to jump down to you. Okay? And I wasn't keeping time. Do you guys like my outlines that I put out? Usually when I do a video like this, I'll keep track of when I'm answering your questions. I'll write a timeout, and then I'll try and go do an outline so people can like find stuff, because I know people don't want to sit and watch a video for, 40 minutes. Do you like that? Give me some feedback. Do you want me to keep doing that? I haven't been able to do that the last couple times because I've just had calls right after, and so it's been hard. But if that's something that's important to you, I can make a greater effort to do it. And Kayla says yes. Okay, so let's start with Jessica's question. She says, how can I get my 3.5-year-old to stay in her bed at night? We start to wind down at 8. We read books until about 8:30, and then I sit by her while she falls asleep. She has to fall asleep without you there in order to be able to fall back asleep in the middle of the night without you there. So she wakes up about 1 and comes to get me. I sit by her until she falls asleep again, right? She needs you to sit by her, but she doesn't sleep long until she comes to get me again. And I end up too tired and let her in bed with us. She stays. She says she's scared, and that's the reason she needs me to be with her. So the first thing you can start doing is start teaching her to fall asleep without you there. So if you want to do a gentle method at this age, it can be, I recommend that at this age. I would just start telling her, okay, communicate with her, tell her that this is the goal, and when she sleeps, falls asleep by herself and sleeps the whole night, she gets this prize. You can do a reward chart. There's lots of different things you could do. But you're essentially going to sit a foot away from her than where you have been sitting. Do that for a few nights, then sit another foot away from her. Eventually you'll be, at her door and then sitting outside her door while she's falling asleep. Now, the key fact here, Jessica, is you have to wake up and go put her back in bed every single time, because she will not stop waking up if she gets into your bed. Even if it's once every 2 weeks, she will not stop. It is nice in mom and dad's bed, right? So she will keep doing it. She's getting rewarded when she wakes up enough times. Okay, so you have to be strong. You have to kind of clear your schedule, know that you're not going to get sleep, plan for naps the next day, and be consistent in putting her back into her bed. And when you go put her back into bed, whatever night it is, make sure you're in the same spot that you were when she fell asleep at the beginning of the night. And you can be however aggressive you want. That's kind of the slow method. You can also put a gate on her door and say, hey, you're staying in your room all night. Or shut her door and say, hey, you're staying in your room all night. And kind of force a boundary on her to figure that out. And go to her when she needs you instead of letting her come to you. So, okay, Allison, are you here? Yay, Allison, you're next on my list. Okay, and I see a few people telling me that they like the outline, so I will recommit myself to do a better job of putting those up. Okay, Allison says, my 4-month-old baby girl was an amazing sleeper. She started sleeping through the night at 6 weeks, 10 pounds at birth. Whew. She definitely hit her 4-month sleep regression hard, got sick, transitioned out of her rock and play on top of the regression. For a few weeks, she was waking up 5 to 7 times per night. Ouch. Okay, and that was at what? Do you say how old? Did I miss that? No. Okay, maybe just at like 4 months, I guess. That has calmed down to usually once in the night, but then 4 a.m. hits, and at 4 a.m. she wakes up every 10 to 15 minutes for an hour or so, and then we'll sleep from about 5:15 to 6. We start her day with a feeding at 6. She goes down for a nap at 7:30 and sleeps until 9:30. From there, she takes 3 more naps, usually about an hour and 45 minutes after eating. A typical nap lasts 45 minutes. Okay, so you could try to lengthen out that nap by putting her to bed a little bit earlier. I would count an hour and 45 minutes from when she wakes up. I want her to be asleep again, not after eating, if that makes sense. Sorry, I feel like a little congested tonight. So I'm sniffly. Okay, a typical nap lasts 40 minutes. I don't feel like that is long enough, but I'm not sure and it is normal, like you may not get it to length now, but it is normal as I mentioned earlier. She goes to bed for the night around 7:30. My question is how can we help her in the 4 a.m. hour? Why is she waking up so much? Allison, how is she falling asleep at night? When she does wake, we try not to pick her up, but go comfort her and put her binky in. She has a binky. Might be time to ditch the binky if your pediatrician approves. Any regression tips would be great too. Thanks so much. One more thing, like I said, she goes to bed at 7:30, but often she wakes up wide awake at 8:30 thinking she just took a nap. Why? Help. Oh. I do a sleep feed for her at 10 p.m. before I go to bed. Okay, so a couple things. If she's using a binky, that's not helping her in those early morning hours. That's just her early morning hours where her sleep is the absolute lightest. So any sleep aid she has at that point, she needs it constantly or else she won't stay asleep. That's all. It sounds like that's all that's happening. And so if she's sleeping with that binky or if she has something else that is helping her sleep, then that has to be removed. She has to learn how to fall asleep without that and then learn how to sleep without that. And then she'll sleep better in that 4 a.m. hour. I think 7:30, if she's waking up at 6, I would say 7:30 is a late bedtime for her. I would try moving that earlier. Usually it's somewhere around 12 hours after they wake up. Right after they drop a nap and right before they drop a nap, it'll change to either less than or more than that, but around 12 hours. And so the fact that it's so late, she may be waking up at 8:30 because she's going to bed too late. And then she's kind of wide awake and is wired. So think about that. And I also recommend dropping the dream feeds after 4 months. What I would do, just try it, just see how long she can go, right? At this age, 2 feeds is normal, one happening at 12 and one happening at 4. And you can talk to your pediatrician to get approval on that. I mean, maybe she doesn't need any feeds or something like that, but that's like the conservative side. I don't want any more than that, right? 2 feeds. And so if you're dream feeding her at 10 p.m. and she's going until 4 a.m., she probably needs another feed at that point. Maybe that would help her sleep. Okay, Jelly, you're here. Okay, I already answered your question. I'm sure I'm saying your name wrong. I'm sorry. But I answered it earlier and I didn't put a time on it. I'll have to go back and watch my own video to figure out the time. So that's awesome. Okay, Chelsea Mumford, you're here. Okay, I saw your name. You're the next one on my list, so 1723. Okay, my daughter is 5 weeks old. She sleeps between 3 to 5 hour blocks at night in her crib. However, during the day, if I lay her down in her crib, she sleeps for about 10 minutes before she wakes up crying. I have her room dark and a sound machine going. If she's in her swing or in my arms, she will sleep for up to 2 hours. I rock her to sleep. How can I help her sleep longer in her crib during the day? Okay. She is so Chelsea, if you don't have my newborn survival sleep guide, go get it because it's helpful. I don't know what it looks like, but my first thought is wake times. Often when a newborn won't sleep, it's because the wake times are too long. This is actually really interesting. So I talked to a newborn care specialist a while ago. She was kind of telling me, we just connected, you know how that goes. And she was kind of telling me what she does. And she goes into homes of newborns. So she works with families from 0 to 3 months. And she goes into their home. It's like a night nanny. If you guys have heard of that, just to explain. She goes into her homes from like 10 to 6. And she does nighttime so that the parents can sleep. I should have hired someone like that for my twins. But whatever. And what she told me was that she essentially sleep trains newborns. And I'm like, how do you do that? Because all the sleep training I do is 4 months and on, right? And what she told me was, there's no crying involved. They still have sleep aids. So they still have a swaddle. They still have a binky. They still have these sleep aids. Younger than 4 months is okay because their sleep cycles are newborn sleep cycles. And they're not, if that's the 4 month sleep regression, is saying it's switching that into adult-like patterns. And they no longer can handle those sleep aids. But as a newborn, they can. So they have these sleep aids. And as long as, it sounds like with yours, Chelsea, as long as you keep that window short, and you give sleep aids that she can have like the whole time at night, the swaddle, the binky, things like that, then she could potentially sleep longer. The thing that's happening here is for naps, you're rocking her to sleep and then laying her in her crib, right? So if you can get her to have a binky, have whatever, lay her in her crib and let her fall asleep in her crib, get her wake time short enough, that might lengthen out her naps inside of her crib during the day. Nighttime sleep is just a deeper sleep, and that might be why she's sleeping there at night. If you want to get her there in the day, see if you can get her to fall asleep in her crib. Okay, Cabri, are you here? I think I saw your name earlier. Maybe? I know I said it. Yes, I did. Okay. Okay, Cabri. She says, Bronson is now 4 months on the 4th of April, and he seems to hate sleep. Oh, I need to put my time in. 20 minutes. Okay. Okay, good. He seems to hate sleep, almost terrified of it. He cries, clutches his fist, doesn't seem to relax, and only time he does is if I rock him or pat his back. He will sometimes put himself to sleep, but the times he does do that, he wakes himself up and only sleeps 30 minutes or so. What am I doing or not doing right? He needs sleep. It seems to be getting worse. Oh, Cabri, that's a hard one. I don't have like a ton of information here to be able to really help. And again, this would be great. You'd be great for one of my sleep training packages that I mentioned earlier. But even a consultation. So let me explain that for you guys. I do consultations that are not in a package. It's kind of like, the best way I can describe it is like a counseling session. I'm a marriage and family therapist as well, and so that's the best way I can liken it. You're just paying for time to talk. It's a little bit different than a counseling session because I won't go into the details of that, but it's a little bit different. You're, providing me information. I'm kind of telling you this is what I would do. These are the interventions that I would change. I charge $2 a minute, and you can schedule them in 15-minute increments, so 15, 30, 45, an hour. If you purchase an hour-long consultation, you get to fill out an in-depth questionnaire, which means all of the back history I already know going into that, so we save a bunch of time. And then we're able to really identify what needs to happen and work towards that, kind of give you the tools, the information that you need to go home and do it on your own. And I always say you purchase the hour-long consultation, you get the in-depth questionnaire, and we only use 45 minutes. You have another 15-minute call that you can use when you need it. So it's really nice to kind of save that time and use it later when you run into like a pitfall. But even that, Cabri, would be good for you because I just don't have enough information to tell you what to do differently. I'm sorry, I wish I could. Like, these are always the questions I get stuck on because I'm like, I wish I knew everything about the situation. But, and that's the hard thing about the Q&As, right? That's why they're free because I get a limited amount of information. I give you my best guess, most common answer, and hope that helps. Okay, Janelle, are you here? Yes. Okay, you said hello earlier. Okay, so 22, 24. Okay, my baby just turned 4 months old. Wow, this is like oh no, because we had a 5-week-old. Okay, but another 4-month-old. So, listen up, Cabri, maybe this will help you too. She says, my baby just turned 4 months old on the 24th of March. The last month, she has been getting worse and worse at sleeping. Lately, she's up every hour to 2 hours max. I am almost certain it's because she can't put herself back to sleep because I have always given her the binky. Makes sense. Sorry, I just lost my spot. So totally hitting the 4-month sleep regression. She's up every hour, 2 hours. Okay, there I am. Swaddle to sleep, and in the middle of the night, she falls asleep on the breast, and then I just move her to the crib. Okay, so aids that we have, right? If she's nursing to sleep, she's nursing, that's an aid. The swaddle is an aid, and the binky is an aid. I said egg. Just an aid. Things to help her sleep. Those are the 3 that she has. She's in her own room, however, she shares it with a 3-year-old sister. I'm having a hard time figuring out a way to sleep train because of the room sharing situation. Any suggestions? Yes. So, when I do sleep train and they're sharing room, do you guys like my little kid book that I'm writing on today? I always recommend taking the 3-year-old out for like a few nights, depending on how aggressive your approach is, or up to a week. So sometimes you can like send them to grandma's house for the weekend and they can have their own little time with grandma. Sometimes you can just do, hey, mom and dad and the 3-year-old are having a sleepover in the living room. And that can be fun for them. Make it fun for them when they're getting displaced from their room, right? Make it a big deal. Make it exciting. And sometimes it can be up to a week. I just had a client actually, and we did that. But even going back in, her daughter wanted to go back in and sleep in her room, but the baby was still crying more than she wanted, and so the daughter didn't want to sleep in there. And so they did. They set up like a temporary bed in mom and dad's room, knowing that she'd go back in. You just want to be careful with that, the little one, your 3-year-old isn't climbing into bed with you, that there's still appropriate boundaries while you pull her out to sleep train the other one in the room. Okay, and then also to sleep train, should I take away all the inhibitors at once or wean one at a time? Any tips are welcome, thank you. You can do either or, so you can take You can take them away one at a time, or you can take them away all at once. My preference is to take them all away all at once. And the reason why I prefer that is because I think it's more compassionate to the child, which goes against everything that you're thinking. Usually we think, oh, I don't want him to suffer, so I'll just take one away because it won't be such like a big change. The problem is that babies really thrive on routine and consistency. So instead of, you know, oh, one change, you're going to have to adjust to that, and then we're going to change it again right after that, and then we're going to change it again. And they're over here like, oh my gosh, like you took that away and I just got used to it. Now you're taking this away and I just got used to it. And now you're taking something else away. Can we just keep it the same? And so, yes, there will be more fussing and a harder adjustment initially, but it'll also shorten your adjustment time. It'll be easier on you, and ultimately I think easier on the child, because children they can adjust. They're resilient. They're flexible. So just take it away and do it all at once, and that's my preference anyway. Okay, who else is here? I have questions from Megan. Did I see you, Megan? Finlandson. Yes, there you are. Okay. And our time is 26:05. Okay, she says, how can I get my 18-month-old to nap on his own in his crib? I've been letting him cry it out. He cries 1 to 2 hours, and I give in and go get him. Give him a bottle, and he falls right asleep in my arms. Oh. Okay, so he totally has that sleep association with the bottle. He does the same thing in the mornings. He goes to bed at 8, wakes up at 4 or 5, and will scream for hours if I let him until I go get him and give him a bottle and let him get in bed with us. Okay, so bottle, and there may also be an association with like touching mom and dad or being in their bed. And if I go get him, he'll go right back to sleep until 8. I have been trying to get him to take naps around 12 or 1 right after I feed him lunch. Okay, Megan, how is he sleeping at night? Because my question is always, how is he falling asleep at the beginning of the night? If he's getting a bottle at the beginning of the night to fall asleep, then it's going to be really hard to expect him to fall asleep in the afternoon without a bottle, or not get a bottle in that early morning wake up, right? So, oh, I was looking at the wrong question. He goes to bed at 8, and he wakes up at 8. He's 18 months, and he takes a nap around 12 or 1. Did you tell me how long that nap is? No. Okay. I'm worried that 8 o'clock might be a late bedtime for him, and you know, I would push the nap back at around 18 months. I mean, you're looking at that last window from wake up time to bedtime around 4 to 4.5 hours. So if that gets too late, it can make bedtime hard. It doesn't sound like you're having a problem with the bedtime, but again, if he's falling asleep with a bottle at bedtime, then waking up in the middle of the night, he'll need that bottle too. So the first step in all of this is getting him to fall asleep at bedtime without a nap. Not without a nap, without a bottle. Then, yes, my usual recommendation is to put him to bed earlier to fall asleep for his nap. But here's the thing. I don't know how long you've let him scream for hours before you've given in and you get him a bottle for the nap or in the morning. But again, children thrive on consistency and routine. So he has to understand that the new normal is no bottles. And if he thinks that he can fuss long enough to get a bottle or throw this tantrum long enough to get a bottle, and then he'll get it, he'll continue to throw this tantrum. So he has to know that he won't get it, and that can take time. So doing it for 1 day or 2 days or 3 days may not be enough for him to understand that he's not going to get a bottle anymore. And so for a while, everybody's going to be pretty sleep deprived and pretty cranky, but he will adjust if you give him enough space to learn the new normal. I was going to say something else. I don't remember. Apparently I lost my train of thought. Okay. Alexandra. Are you here, Alexandra? I feel I have to go back and look at all my names so I can see, because we are running out of time, so I want to make sure I get everybody who's here, because I have phone calls again. Alexandra, I do not see you here, so if you are here, let me know. Tracy, I think I saw you say hi. True story. See, and then I feel bad because I'm like wasting time. Tracy, there you are. Okay. I don't know. I always go over, so I feel like it's still fair, right? Like, I say 30 minutes, and then I always end up going over. Okay. Tracy says, my baby just turned 3 months old. He is asleep by 10 p.m., sleeps until 4 or 5, then eats and sleeps again until between 7 and 9. When should he be napping? I've been following a 2.5 hour schedule with him eating for an hour, still working on that, and then usually a 30 to 45 minute nap. Longer if I hold him. Should I try for fewer and longer naps, and what times, and for how long should they be? Or are more but shorter naps better? It doesn't really matter, to be honest, at this age, Tracy. You could do either one. You're really just winging it still. And the first thing that's gonna solidify for your baby and their schedule is that wake up between 7 and 9. We kind of want to get that kind of solidified down to a specific time. If you don't have my newborn survival sleep guide, go get it. There's a link for it in my pinned post on Facebook. So we'll kind of go over this. I guess some of the wording and the way that I look at things is different than yours, and so it's like taking me a minute for my mind to like think about it in your way. And you say I've been following a 2.5 hour schedule with eating, so he's eating every 2.5 hours, which is fine. With him eating for an hour. Oh, so he takes an hour to eat. Okay, and then usually a 30 to 5 minute nap. Okay, so yeah, so at 3 months, I mean, really like an hour and a half is the longest that your baby's going to be awake. And it could be shorter, right? And so the eating could play a part into him not getting to bed as early as we would like. But if it's like an hour and a half or that works, you're pretty much going to be feeding him and then have like 30 minutes to wind him down and get him to go to sleep. If you're doing an eat, play, sleep, pattern with him, that's what I'd recommend. So you want to keep those wake periods short. The morning one often is sometimes only 45 minutes to an hour, and then later in the day it kind of lengthens out to an hour and a half of awake time, and that's what I go by instead of the eating schedule. I just always feed when they wake up from a nap, and so if it's a short nap, they have a shorter wake period. If it's a short nap, they have a shorter feed schedule period or whatever. It's 2 to 3 hours that I feed during the day, and then that just means at night, hopefully they've gotten their calories and they can sleep better at night for you. And if they take a longer nap, that's fine too, but 2 hours is the limit. I say wake them after 2 hours if they're still sleeping. Okay, Megan Taylor. I already saw your name because I remember I looked for you when the other Megan was here, so we're going to answer your question next. 32:35 is our time. Totally out of time. Okay, Megan says, because of you, my twins are great sleepers. Yay! I love comments like that. Thank you. They are just over 5 months old. Bedtime at 6, wake up for the day at 7:30, and do 3 to 4 naps a day without any issue. My question is, how do I get them to sleep through the night? They wake up 2 times to eat. The doctor said they don't need the calories. Okay. So the first thing that I would do is switch them to a solid 3 nap schedule. The reason they may be waking at night is because they're getting too much day sleep. So you want to keep daytime sleep to about 3.5 hours. Bedtime is 6, wake up for the day at 7:30. So 7:30, you're going to do your first nap at around 9, and then depending on how long their naps are, they're 5 months. Yeah, so an hour and a half wake period for the first one, anywhere from, an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours at this age is pretty good. And you can have 2 hours after the first nap too. If they're waking up at 7:30, you can down at 9:30, or they fall asleep at 9:30, you know what I'm saying? But, so anywhere in there is fine, but get them on a solid 3 nap schedule, and that'll probably help their feedings to decrease, or the wake ups to decrease at night. Then the other thing I would do is whatever you use to sleep train them, I would just start doing that when they wake up. And you don't have to, like, if you want all feedings to go away, it doesn't mean that, you have to do cry it out all night long. You totally can. It's okay for babies to be a little hungry for one night, and then they'll eat more the next day, and then they'll sleep better the next night. That's okay. But you can also do it slower. So if they wake up 2 times to eat. Okay, so what I would do is, an isolating 2 times is an appropriate amount for this age, as long as it's happening at midnight. Sometimes I'll get babies that are waking up at 10 to eat, and it's like, no, they need to be going longer. And so if we don't feed them at 10, if we let them, fuss and then fall back asleep, then they'll often sleep past past the feed that they were normally waking up for. So that's something you try, is just try dropping 1 feed at a time. So that first feed, if you can let them fall back asleep and then see when they wake up for their next feed and keep that for a little bit, or you can just rip the Band-Aid off and just let them fall asleep each time, and you might be surprised. They might sleep through the night after that first wake up. They do I don't know, but it's an idea. Kajel, I'm sure I'm saying your name wrong, because in the English language when there's a K and a J, you don't say them both. Kirsten, I had a roommate named Kirsten, it was spelled KJ. So, this is me in English. We don't get along. I'm trying to decide how to say your name. KL. I'm going to call you KL. I have no idea. You already asked a question, and you're asking another one on here, so you we're here live, so let me answer this one. You said, why do babies 35-38. Okay. Why do babies get so angry and fussy when we try to put them to sleep? Because we're putting them to sleep too late. If they are angry and fussy, it is a late sign of sleepiness. They are too tired to fall asleep easily, and we need to put them to bed earlier. That is the short and simple answer, but the truth. Okay, Kayla, you're here. Kayla, did I not answer your question? Oh no, you submitted it today, that's why. Okay, Kayla, I'm answering your question. And then Alyssa, are you here? Because you're my next one, and we are running out of time. So if you are here and I have not answered your question, give me another comment so that when I get done with this one, I can answer it, because I have got to go. Yeah, I gotta go. Okay. Kayla says, how do you handle the 3 to 2 nap transition? What are the signs and how do you structure the naps so they don't get overtired? Okay, Kayla, we talked about this at the beginning when I was not keeping track of the time yet, but if I had to guess, I would probably say around minute 7. Let's put a question mark by that. A little bit. We talked about what to look for to see if your baby's ready. So go back and check that out so you know what to look for. And then, how do you structure the naps so they don't get overtired? I'm thinking my 7.5-month-old is trying to drop her 3rd nap since she's refused it 6 days in a row. That's a dang good sign. I'd say you're right. She's also waking at 5 a.m. every morning, and I'm hoping to change that since 5 a.m. is too dang early for my taste. Yes. And part of the reason that might be the case is just because if she's skipping that 3rd nap, then she will... Allie, I don't have a question from you, I don't think. Can you write yours in the comment while I finish this so I can answer it? Or did you submit one last week that I didn't get to? Yes, I have a Allison Olsen and a Alyssa, but I don't have one from you. So write that in the comments for me while I finish this up. Okay. Yeah, so she might be skipping that 3rd nap and then getting overtired because you can't put her to bed at 4 o'clock or something, and then she ends up waking up early because she went to bed too late. So. But anyways, I'm going to finish reading this and give you some tips. Okay, her schedule is this. She usually goes to bed by 6 or 6:30 each night and wakes up at 5 or 5:30. Prefer later wake-up time in the morning, 6:30 or 7. Okay, so this is the first step that you need to do. Have her wake-up time be 6:30. Leave her in her crib until 6:30 and then go get her and start your day as if it is starting at 6:30, okay? Her naps have been between 1.5 to 2 hours. I'm jumping back, but I realize she's waking up at 5:30, and you leave her in her crib for an hour, but that time laying down in her crib in the dark is restful. It is restful, okay? So she's getting more rest than that if you leave her in there. Her naps have been between 1.5 to 2 hours long, but then that last stretch before bed, since she refuses a 3rd nap, ends up being a 4-hour stretch as times, right? Which is too long. So I'm just going to do a 7 o'clock wake up because it's the easiest for me. Okay, so 5 months, 7.5 months on we're switching to a 2-nap schedule, right? So she wakes up at 7. I would do that first nap sometime between 9 and 9:30, okay? And you can kind of do this slowly and stretch it out. And then as you're stretching it out, you just want to compensate with an early bedtime. The most that I would go at this age is like a 3-hour stretch between that last nap and bedtime, okay? But if you do that first nap at 9 or 9:30, you said naps are about an hour to an hour and a half long, so she's waking up at about 11. The stretch between the first nap and the second nap can actually be longer than the stretch between bedtime or last nap and bedtime. So like 11, 12, 1, 2, you could put her to bed sometime between 1:30 to 2 for her second nap, and then if she takes another nap, 4, and to bed by 6:30 still. That's what I would do. Okay, so Alyssa's here. Great. Amber, hi. I'm so glad you're here. Amber, I don't have a question from you. I hope you didn't submit one. But if you have one, you can type it and I'll answer it. Okay, Alyssa, I'll answer yours, and then Allie, I'll read yours, and then I have to go. I have a call in just a minute. Okay, I have a 13. Alyssa, this is yours. Guys, I kind of get frantic on here. I hope that you can all just like roll with me because I'm just a dork. Let's just be honest. Okay, Alyssa says, I have a 13-month-old who bed shared until last week. He is now in his crib next to my bed. He needs the comfort of playing with my hair to fall asleep. I would like to teach him to fall asleep more independently so that my husband can put him to bed sometimes. We are also wanting to move him into his 3-year-old brother's room. Any advice? Alyssa, go back and listen to someone who talked about, I think it was Janelle. Minute 22-24. We talk about siblings sharing a room and having to sleep train with a sibling in a room. Go back and listen to that, and that's what I would do. I would move, it's going to be really hard for your 13-month-old to get rid of your hair as a comfort while he's in the bed next to you. So move him and then sleep train, with taking away that comfort, and go listen to my suggestions about room sharing if you're sleep training. Okay. He typically falls asleep around 7:15 and wakes at 7:38 with like 6 nighttime wake-ups. Okay. So seriously, sleep training in the parent's room, even when they're in their crib, is like I'm not joking, it is a million times harder. I'm not exaggerating. It's just harder. He can smell you, he can feel you, he wants you right there. It's going to be really hard to knock those down. It's possible, and it's not always like 100%. Like, it's just a lot more, fluctuates a lot more when they're in your room. So I would definitely suggest moving him. He's waking up at those nights because that's how many times a baby wakes up at night. That's normal. But they usually, just like you do, roll over without realizing they're awake, and it's no big deal. He can't do that because he doesn't have his hair / your hair to comfort him, okay? So he naps 11 to 1-ish, different length each day, and we go only on one nap. Okay, I would move his nap later. He's not waking up till 8 a.m. I want that nap around like 12:30. And then I want bedtime possibly earlier. Maybe 6:30, like latest 7. Part of the wake-ups are because he's not getting enough sleep and his nap is too early. It's ending too early. So 6 hours of awake time is way a lot. At 19 months, I recommend between 4 and 4.5 hours of awake time between the end of the nap and bedtime. So yeah, he's going to bed wired and is waking up. That's not helping either. I don't mind the middle of the night wakings. I'm focused on teaching him to fall asleep more independently. Thank you. Okay. Which is fine. So I would just move him into the room, go back and listen to those suggestions. And then honestly, just like anything we sleep train, I wish there was like a great way to like gradually take away your hair, but like there's not really. Like at one point he's going to be touching it and then at the next point he's not. So you just have to take it away from him. And really if you want dad to be able to put him to bed, I think you said that, I would just have dad go put him to bed and let him fall asleep without your hair. Is going to be so important. So dad might need to be the one. He might need to figure out a way to fall asleep with dad without you and your hair there. What else was I going to say? But I would fix his schedule because if he's overtired going to bed at night, it's going to make it harder for him to figure out how to soothe himself because he's already tired. It's like a meltdown or tantrum at that point. Like, it's not going to work. Okay, so Allie, let me answer yours. Allie, let me know because I swear, were you here last week and you were like, you can answer it next week, but then I will say this, like, if a question doesn't get answered the previous week, my system kind of starts over the next week. And so many of you will know, like, tomorrow you'll get a message from me with a link to this video in case you missed it or you want to refer back to it. And you'll get another message seeing if you got the help that you need. And if your question didn't get answered, it will ask you to submit it again. You have to submit it again so that I can get it on my list. But Allie, anyways, that's just for everybody or not everybody. I don't know who that's going to be relevant to. But Allie, let's answer your question because I feel like you were here last week and I didn't get to it, or I don't remember what happened, but maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm remembering wrong. Okay, let's just answer it. Allie says, my son is 6.5 months old. We've been sleep training for 2 weeks now. Cried out method. That's a long time for cried out. I've taken his binky away. I never let him sleep longer than 3.5 hours during the day, like total amount, right? You never let him sleep more than 3.5 hours total during the day. And I have been very consistent, but he's still crying himself to sleep, crying for at least 15 minutes. It's not consistent, mostly at night, but sometime for naps too. I don't know what to do. Why is he not soothing himself yet? Well, he always cries himself to sleep. I usually lay him down between 7 and 7:30. He sleeps through the night, and he usually wakes up between 6 and 7. Okay. He may be a little overtired. That may be part of it. I don't know his whole schedule, but that may be part of it. When he wakes up in the morning, I nurse him, and most of the time he'll go right back down for about an hour. Okay. He takes his first nap around 10, his second around 1. I would say that's a little early for a second nap. I would move, I don't know how long he's sleeping for at 10, but I would move that to like 1:30. And third nap, he's on 3 naps. Sorry, I was thinking 2. Yeah, that's fine. 10, I probably sleep till 11. He's 6.5 months, so 2 hours is plenty. So he sleeps, so 10 to 11, and then he goes down at 1. And third nap around 4:30. So I'm assuming that second nap is 2 hours, 1 to 3. No, that can't be right. Third nap is like an hour or 2, or an hour and a half. Okay, great. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then he's waking up probably around 4:30 or 5, and he's going to bed between 7 and 7:30. His schedule looks pretty good, actually. Some kids just cry to go to sleep. I'd probably have to do more information, Allie, so to really be able to say if that's something that's wrong with his schedule. It looks good to me, but like you said, an hour in either direction, and there could be some tweaking that we could do. And I still have some questions about it, but generally it looks okay. So usually if babies are struggling to self-soothe, it's because they're not getting quite enough sleep. So you could try adjusting his schedule a little bit, but 15 minutes is my thing. It's kind of my limit or guide, that if a baby is laid down and they can fall asleep within 15 minutes, that means that they are self-soothing sufficiently and they're able to fall asleep on their own. Some babies will always cry while they're self-soothing. Some babies will go down happy and go to sleep and they don't cry at all, but some babies are just, they don't want to sleep, they just want to play. So if he's the type of baby that doesn't want to sleep, he'd rather stay awake and he has like FOMO, then he will probably always cry when he goes to sleep. Could we decrease that from 15 minutes? Maybe, but is that still okay? Yes, 15 minutes is kind of my guide. So hopefully that helped answer that question. Okay. Hey guys, that's it. We made it. Okay, I gotta go. And thank you so much. If I did not answer your question, I answered everyone who's here, right? Because no one else said yes. Okay, so if I did not get to your question, please resubmit it for next week so we can get to it. Remember, I do try and start with the ones that are there at the beginning and answer those who show up. I hope this is fair. Let me know if you have a better suggestion. I'm just trying to do the best that I can to help moms out there who are in need. So thank you so much. Please like this video, love this video, share this video so that other moms can be aware. I know it's hard to answer every single question in great detail, but I know a lot of moms that they've told me, they've messaged me and they said, I've never answered a question or asked a question, but your answers have helped me fix my baby's sleep. So this is helping, and that's really why I'm doing this, because I remember being a sleep deprived mom, getting 4 hours of staggered sleep for months and just literally breaking and not having the tools or resources out there. So that's why I do this, because yes, I think it's so important for babies to have sleep, but I am an advocate for mothers, and it is so important for mothers to take care of themselves. And sleep is not a extra, it is a need. If you do not have sleep, you cannot function. If you do not sleep, eat, and have shelter, like, you can't do anything else. You can't attach with your child. You can't have a good bond with them. You can't give them the best you. So sleep is that's how I'm helping out. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a good night, and I will see you here next week. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.